Hello everybody, top tips when it comes to the Cyber Weekend event, or the Underground Market as it's being called. I mean, I'm still going to refer to the Cyber Weekend deals, Cyber Week deals, whatever. It is what it is. Also, just to kind of forewarn everybody, I am currently traveling for a works party thing, so I won't be back until tomorrow. So that's when you'll probably see some kind of like dissection coverage, but I'm probably going to like, check out whilst we're away at this kind of retreat thing and kind of make notes. So at least when I come back, I'm prepared enough to kind of like do some coverage and look at some things, because some things are going to be really important for players, and is something what we're going to cover with these top tips. So I hopefully time coded this, because what I want to do is take the tips coverage and then kind of like go into game to kind of like talk about the process. So first tip is, don't feel you need to spend money in game, especially in such a tough time globally. If you do spend, make calculated purchase that might get you a new progression. So the thing with that is basically feeling the pressure. Try and look at it this way. Like, I haven't spent in the game since December of 2021. It is now December 2023, and I still haven't spent in game. If I wanted to, I could go and do a completion of Necropolis. And my particular process for this particular Cyber Weekend or Cyber Week is to look at to see if there's going to be an opportunity for forming a rank 3 7-star, because it basically means that my spend for Necropolis goes down. Instead of doing 100%, it's the spend of units that could be down to about there, which means that I can then separate out my spend to different areas, like a little bit of units for Banquet Event, a little bit of units for this. It's a case that you look at it that way. The same thing for those that are Paragon. If you are looking to spend, if you are Cavalier or Thronebreaker and looking to spend to get yourself up to the next level, then make sure that you're eyeing up the right purchase, but also making sure not to overspend, because that's it's a tough time. Look to see if there's anything like what is available on the stores, if there's any kind of bargains. Well, I say bargains, but on things like the web store, the Southerners Market, you can get a free Baron Zemo. Do you want Baron Zemo? Is it going to cost you a lot more to obtain him? Is it worth it? Is it not? Ask these questions before making these particular purchases. Also, and this is something to point out, look at in physical stores and other places if there's anything like iTunes gift card reductions. Sometimes there are, sometimes there's not, and that largely happens around the Mondays of the Cyber Weekend elements to us. Look out for Google Play points if you are looking to spend to get extra points back to then use on things within game as well. The second tip is, don't make rash decisions. So do bear in mind, this event goes from Friday the 24th of November and finishes on December 1st. You get 7 days. In those 7 days, you can make key decisions. It doesn't mean that you have to make a decision impatiently like that. You're probably not desperate to make those decisions, but do bear in mind we have we have battlegrounds on at the moment. We have a few other things like permanent content that you may feel like, okay, do you actually need to rank up a champion? Do I need to acquire said champion? Will I pull the champion in crystals? Can I open up all my crystals now and see if I get it? Do I need the selector? Ask these questions. But look at the time frame. You have 7 days to make a decision. It's also closer to like a payday. So again, you can make these decisions with time without having to rush it. That's why I'm going to make that the videos when I'm back from this works retreat. The third tip is scooping up extra units. So there is a possibility to pick up about 1,000 units in 1 week by doing various things. Whether or not it's going into certain areas in game, like doing arena and doing other things. Yes, 1,000 units is not going to make a huge amount of difference. But if you're close to something like, I don't know, a deal is 4,000 units. It's 5,000 units, but you have 4,000 units, then you could farm theoretically in 1 week enough of those units. Do bear in mind this weekend and going on at the moment is a particular solo event for Battlegrounds City solo event. So you can pick up some of the fabulous crystals, pop them open, get some units and invest them into your kind of like your get. It could even mean that if you are out by 1,000 units, maybe even 2,000 units, because that could give you a good chunk as well, that you'd have this opportunity for, I don't know, at least getting 2,000 units if you're lucky, but you would need to do a lot of arena, of course, in order to do that. But at the same time, look, it's a means to an end. Next up is loyalty stores glory stores and battleground stores and all those stores in general. The reason I mention this is that if you are close to forming, some of these particular stores can be a better option. Like, for example, if there's a particular deal and you're like, oh, do I have to get it? It's like, it's, you know, closer to forming a tier 3 alpha, a tier 6 basic, or it's a case of going, right, well, I can get part of a relic, you know, ranked up. I can look to the battleground store and go, I can get the volume of shards without having to worry. If you are closer to forming, sometimes saving a little bit of units back, going, okay, right, well, I can get, if I get a deal that's going to cost me 5,000 units for about 1,500 7-star shards. That probably isn't what's going to be in there, but I'm just giving a scenario of going, look, I need 1,500 shards. It's going to cost me an extra 5k for it. Is it actually worth it for the deal? No, I could use 18,000 battle chips, save back the units and reinvest that in a different area like Banquet Event and stuff like that. So it's just all about looking at those particular stores first to going, can I form? Is it going to help me out? And making those key decisions. And kind of interlinking that as being the kind of similar tip to that is just expanding on Battlegrounds as being a store. Look to this first. If you are getting some of the rarer materials, then again, you can make key decisions. Do I need a little bit of a tier 6 class catalyst? Yes, no, maybe. Could I use my trophy tokens in a way that is topping me up? Possibly. Could I do the same with 6-star signature stones? Of course. Is it worth me, again, getting this deal because I can then look to this as being a prop-up option? It's all about that. But also, look at things that are going to benefit you. Is it going to benefit you? Is there a relic-specific one? Do you want a relic-specific deal? Is it going to make a difference? Do you have all of the 5 stars, all of the 6 stars? Do you have all the 4-star relics? Make these decisions, but also look at the Battleground store specifically. Next up is checking out content. You know, do you have any specific type of content that you're looking to do? And are you building around that? But also look at whether or not it's actually worth getting a deal because you might get better or worse. So something I'm going to cover in a video is looking at the idea of going, should I invest 21,000 units in the likes of Necropolis? Same thing with any other player. Eternity of Pain. Like myself, I've done Eternity of Pain. And would I need to grab something of equal value? Not just for myself, but for you as well. And go instead, right, well instead, could I invest the units to go do that particular piece of content? And go, number one, I've done that content. And number two, it's kind of off my list of something to do. But at the same time, it's like, well, is it going to cost me as much units? So it could be like a deal that's kind of like, right, well, for 10,000 units, I can get myself all the stuff that could be 100%ing Eternity of Pain. Or I could just do Eternity of Pain. Or I could do Eternity of Pain with 5,000 units and save 5 back, which I can reinvest in other places. So look at that. You've got all these units you're about to kind of invest, but at the same time, could you be investing them in a better way? That's the kind of question and question you have to ask yourself, and you know the answer to it. Like for me, it's a case of like I'm asking this question, which I said before, like, am I 100%ing Necropolis throughout December with all these units versus going to do a completion run, grabbing something in the Cyber Weekend deals, and as well investing into the Banquet Event? Or am I going full on Necropolis, or whatever units left over, I'll do Banquet Event? You know, these, again, questions. Ask these questions of yourself as to decisions. Units versus deals, or, content with units versus deals. And of course, there's different places you can pick up revives. I'm not saying, you know, blast all your revives into here, blast all your units into this particular content. But looking from a context of that, of going like, well, I just want to get this all done. So, you know, have a look at that. The next tip is think about the Banquet Event. The Banquet Event is something to think about, especially because you will need a smaller amount of units to get the Deathless Piece, which is in there. It's a 7-star Deathless Piece, very important for those at Paragon, but also in general, like and Valiant as well. Very important for any kind of player. You know, the Banquet Event can give some stuff from minimum amount of effort. You open up a lot of those greater Banquet crystals. You could pick up some very nice spicy things that are going to be really beneficial, and especially going up the milestones. We haven't released any details, or haven't seen any details just yet, but I can imagine it's going to be a very spicy time, a very important time, and a very you know, easy to grab time. So think about saving some units back. You may need 12 to 16,000 units in order to make a dent. But again, it's just that's kind of like that can be re-farmed between the end of this month, November, and as well. Look out for a video tomorrow, by the way, on that particular subject. So yeah, do bear that in mind as well. The next thing I want to mention is deals devalue. More than 9 times out of 10, it's better deals are around about the Cyber Weekend. Why? How? Explain. So, if you're thinking about the start of the year, the rewards are always, you know, average. This is why that if you go back in time and look at the things like July 4th deals and then go to the Cyber Weekend deals, they always seem to be just that little bit better. The reason being, over that particular time, certain resources and meta chase items depreciate in value. That's why tier 6 class catalyst is more easy to grab now, whereas the start of the year it really wasn't. Especially at the back of stuff like the Banquet Event. The Banquet Event sets a kind of like a precedence of where there's kind of like some spicy stuff, and then it depreciates over the course of the year when we get to Cyber Weekend. So something that I want to kind of like just make you aware of is to go, okay, units wise, is it worth the July 4th deals, or is it worth saving for Cyber Weekend and doing a little bit in the Banquet Event? In some cases, the answer is yes. So do bear in mind and track things. Track the spicy things. If there's something like tier 6 basic and you're a Thronebreaker and you're like, okay, well, that was, I could for 5,000 units get this, but nowadays I can get it for 3,000. Then track those particular things. So at least you kind of know like, okay, well, next year there's a chance I will pick up more as a result. So it could mean that you're without any kind of much of an effort able to save up units and acquire things more easily based on the fact of the changing and depreciation of the game. We had it with relics. We're probably going to see it with relics where they were worth a certain amount. Like last year, 5,000 units got a 5-star relic, and this year it's probably a case that you could pick up a 5-star, 2 5-star relics, or if not a selector of some description. Next up is targeting items that are going to be beneficial for you. Items and maybe champions, but I'd say that kind of goes in with the final thing. Items is very important. Okay, what beneficial items? Well, I would say for Valiant people, they want to look out for things like 7-star signature stones. But I would say that if you are depending on where you are, Thronebreaker, you may be kind of looking at things like 6-star signature stones. Well, no, more so for Thronebreaker. But for Paragon, you are looking to kind of create something for doing something, whether it's going to be Necropolis, whether or not it's going to be future content, Act 8.4, and such like. Then you're going to have to think about what you want to achieve. Alliance Walls Defense. Do you want Awakening Gems? Is it going to be beneficial to awaken a Maestro, which of course is a kind of a great champion for defensive purposes? Battlegrounds defense. You know, you've got to be forward thinking on this stuff and metas. You've been given 3 metas of the upcoming Battlegrounds. Do you grab rank up materials, rank up gems that are going to be then put onto champions for the next kind of metas of content? Maybe. Science champions are the meta currently for kind of doing Battlegrounds. Will you be ranking up science champions as a result? Again, this is something that you're going to have to really think about, but this is all about target items that benefit. Those rank up gems, if they're generic, they can be held in your account for a long time and then can be used when you see fit. Yes, you can't hold a huge amount of them, but at the same time, if you forward plan, then you can have some great options. Look at attacking champions as well, and that's something that's very important. And it leads us into the last tip, and the last tip will be all about looking at some of the newer champions that are coming to the game and era based selectors. So as we said, ranking up champions is going to be hugely important, so it's all about choice, you know, and we get, you know, a lot of new champions that come into game that are very sought after, whether or not it is going to be the likes of Kushala, it's going to be Photon, Vox, Kindred, you know, to name but a few. There's tons more to mention. But are some of these champions that have recently been released, which you've had, maybe you haven't had much luck in a 6-star featured, and also looking at other options of previous champions in the last couple years, 3 years. For me, there are, you know, Absorbing Man and Nick Fury, 2 champions I really want, but I've never had any luck in getting them. So it's a case of like, is there an opportunity? Can I go get it? Past era Selector, go grab the champion. happy days. And that's something to kind of mention, you know, saving up for those are so important for a lot of players. Acquisition of champions. If you're like, oh, I'm never getting this champion, save your units. Look at those past era selectors. They can be incredibly helpful. So yeah, indeed, look out for that. And that's really it. That's kind of like finishes off my top tips for the Cyber Weekend and Cyber Week. As I said, I'll be doing some coverage when I'm back from this work retreat. Have a lovely day, whatever you're doing. Check out some other content located on screen. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.